Well, this might be a train wreck. My original plan was to do a live demo, but that didn't work out. So this morning, I put together a little video and uploaded it to YouTube right before I left to come up here. And so we're just going to see how it goes. And if it is terrible, I'll try to make up for it during the questions. Oh yeah, also I wrote my speech in this notebook because my phone is dead. And while writing it, I realized that my handwriting has deteriorated a lot in the past few years. All right, so, oops. All right, so my name is MXUltra, or Mandela, and I'm here to give a crash course in open world level design using UE4. And we should make that play here.
Cool.
All right, so I got into modding at an early age. Games like Unreal Tournament made this easy by including its own editor with the game. But without any substantial tutorials or documentation, it was up to players to figure it out. So at age 14, I taught myself the Unreal editor. As further Unreals were released and graphics improved, I continued to learn the new features that were being added. This was just a hobby, but with that skill set, I was able to land a lead instructor position at a game design summer camp. I then worked as an artist and DJ in New York for a few years. And for the past couple years, I've been working on Invader Simulator, which is due out next year. All right, and that's my talk. Thank you very much. Oh wait, I think I forgot something. Oh. So this is UE4. It's a complex program that is intended for a whole team to use. Programmers, animators, texture artists, level designers, and audio engineers all have their own areas of the editor. As such, the UI for UE4 can seem a bit intimidating at first. I wanted to give this talk to explain the level design process, but don't worry about retaining the information. This is just to show you how it works, and if you decide to pursue UE4, you can find specific tutorials on YouTube. Anyway, let's dive in. The basic components of your level are the landscape, static meshes, and foliage. A landscape starts as a flat plane, and you use this brush to either raise up a hill or push down a crater. You can set the radius and fall off, and there are other tools such as flatten, erosion, and smooth. You can also set up material layers to let you paint different types of terrain, such as rock, snow, or grass. If any of you are familiar with Photoshop, it's a very similar kind of brush, but rather than painting colors, you are painting altitude. And here's the texture part. I didn't have a chance to practice this. So anyway, for static meshes, these are kind of, these are everything really. It can be rocks or trees or buildings or any kind of object you want to add into the game. And for those, you have to go into the content browser, which is your library of assets. And you can either import your own meshes, purchase asset packs from the marketplace, or raid the Epic demo projects like I did. And so once you find the mesh you want, simply drop it into the map. And from here, you can adjust the position, the rotation, and the scale of the object using these widgets, which will probably look familiar to you if you've used any 3D modeling programs or played Planet Coaster. There you go. So you're already a pro at this. For a while, we did have giant chickens in the game. But they're a placeholder. So lastly, the foliage system lets you take static meshes and sprinkle them around the map. You have less control over foliage, but it is also less resource intensive, allowing you to make dense forests. And that's basically it. Now you know the essentials of making a virtual diorama. UE4 is a free program, and if your PC can run current games, it should be able to run UE4. From there, you can learn UE4's movie editor, which is called Matinee, and that'll allow you to make animations. Or you could learn photorealistic lighting techniques and do architectural renderings. Or you could find a programmer and make a video game, which is what I did. That's really dark. So yeah, that's my talk. What's that?
I said that ink design. We talked about that a new video.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Maybe we should let it go.
Were there any questions? Or? Yeah.
Why did you choose Unreal 4 versus just? I'm not explicitly saying instead of Unity. I'm just saying as opposed to anything else.
So my whole thing was that I started with the Unreal Engine really young, and as they came out with more Unreals, it was pretty easy for me to just learn the new things they added into it, and so that's why I've kind of stuck with Unreal. But I have a lot of respect for Unity. I'm amazed at what they've added and what they can do with their particles and all that too.
That's not what I said.
Was there another question? No.
I was curious about your thoughts on using World Machine to create your terrain versus Unreal.
Yeah, I've definitely seen there's some. I think even Unity might have a landscape plugin thing for it. But yeah, as far as being able to use programs that will kind of procedurally generate your terrain for you. That's great for background areas or for, I guess it really depends on the kind of game you want. If you're doing a flying game, you don't have a lot of interaction with the ground apart from crashing. So it can look however you want. For our game, there is a lot of traversal, and so we had to be able to tailor things and make paths and specifically tailor it to allow the player to traverse it easily.
So I have
Yeah, I haven't done that, but I know that is actually a functionality in the editor. And again, with all of these things, if there's an aspect of the editor that you're curious about, just search UE4 and whatever that is, and there are YouTube videos out there. There's also some really good, like Epic, official forum resources and an Unreal wiki that can get you started. But YouTube really kind of has everything and it's all visual, so that's my recommendation.
So I've dabbled in some map editors over the years, and one of the biggest struggles I have is like getting the feel right between like the macro view and like the micro, like being in the in the character in place. Do you have any like general advice or thoughts on how to try and get that feeling right? So like the pockets feel good, but also feel like they're part of a cohesive whole. Or
Yeah, I don't know if I've mastered that part of it myself. Let's see. I think what you can do is decide how tall your character is going to be, and just get that set, and then build a building that fits them. The doorway, the windows, the overall height of it, and you can use those as your metric then for basically everything else. Any question?
After knowing a little bit of Unreal and then starting to make a game in Unreal as I assume, finding a programmer and then starting to do that, what was probably like the one or two like things that you learned that you would have never expected about Unreal that came from specifically making a game in it?
Well, oh man, I wish my programmer was here. There's so much, like Unreal is both an amazing program that brings you all these things you wouldn't have expected, and they're all delightful gifts when they arrive. And then on the other hand, there can be some things that are really confusing about it. And so I'd say there's definitely some things we learned about collision in terms of the speed and the size of things. And if you're working at those discrete, say 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second, if you've got an object going really quickly and it's a very small object, it's very possible that in that 1/60th of a second, it may pass through something entirely. And so those were the kind of things that we had to look out for, and that actually led to us making much larger enemies, and yeah, it definitely contributed to the overall scale of the game. Oh, yeah. I believe it does. I believe I haven't used it. Oh wait, I did use it. I used it a long time ago, but yeah, it is there. There are certain things you have to watch out for. Being, the stereoscopic thing, you might have to turn down your particle effects if they're very intense, or certain other things you might have to turn down. It's similar for, say, if you want to port to the Switch or to mobile through Unreal. There are certain things you want to watch out for that a GPU will be able to really, crank it out. And yeah.
So some slides in there of you working and teaching this software. What are some of the biggest common hurdles that you see in introducing the software to people who have never worked in a game before? What do they latch onto what's harder to kind of wrap their head around?
Well, I think once it's funny because I had a friend that I tried to teach, or I tried to get him into UE4, and he basically gave up after half an afternoon. And then a few days later, I see him playing Planet Coaster, and it's like this is the same thing. I couldn't understand, but yeah, I think the UI is a big part of it. You have to really get them into what are the important parts of it for them to be able to do what they want. But once you get them moving things around, placing static meshes and morphing the terrain, for me, I think the biggest hurdle to get the kids over was getting them to use the static meshes in ways that they weren't supposed to. Sometimes there'll be like modular pieces to buildings, and they kind of clearly fit together. And so it just kind of, it makes sense. People naturally want to put, the Lego pieces that fit together. But there's so much more you can get out of it. You can make these really surreal kind of landscapes or really kind of uncork their imagination if you get them to say, hey, take that chicken and make it 400 feet tall. So that would be what I'd say was I tried to impress upon them. Just kind of misuse things. So, yeah. I guess that's it.